everyone, and welcome to the KeenGamer podcast. I'm your host, Mark O'Callahan, and we have a fun episode for you because we are officially in spooky season. Whoa, Jessica, don't freak out the people. They might think
Sorry.
it's a ghost in their feed. But I just spoiled the introduction. Jessica Orr, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Mark. I am excited for spooky season, excited for all the horror games, just the games in general.
I love games.
I love games. That's my intro. I love games.
I love games. I love it. Ooh. Note to self, Weird Al parody, I don't care, but I play games. And rounding out the panel, we got the great Noah Rosenthal. Noah, what is the picture behind you? Is it just like a art patio?
That looks like it's a living room of sorts. Yeah.
Of sorts. But that is art.
Yeah.
We just got to decipher
It
it.
is art. Yeah, let's
Speaking of
review it.
subjective opinions of art, we'll be talking all things 10 out of 10 reviews exclusively on our site. That's right. We're going through all the 10 out of 10 reviews, talking about it, just giving our thoughts. And we're also going to be touching a little bit on 9.9s, 9s, and yes, even the 9.9. Cough, Dakota Gordon. Cough. Love you, Dakota. And of course, we were talking about Google Stadia is dead. I didn't expect it to see so dramatic about it, but it's dead.
You're not wrong.
That's true. And speaking of the dead or undead, we'll be talking about the Last of Us trailer that dropped last week. But before we get into all of that, speaking of Deathloop.
Jesus, Mark, that was some great transitions you got going on there.
I'm like, boom, boom, boom,
boom, boom.
Spooky season.
Appropriate for the podcast. I'll give them all 10 out of 10s.
Ooh. Noah?
He gives it a 9.9.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it a 9.9.
Okay, you are a tough audience, Noah, but I will respect that. But I have been playing Deathloop. I promised bed and breakfast. I lied. Again.
Bear and breakfast. Is bed and breakfast the game too?
No, it's bear and breakfast.
Oh, okay. I thought you were just going all in on the breakfast games here.
Yeah, there should be a bed and breakfast. At least The Sims.
You just get up and make breakfast every day? Or you get up and eat breakfast every day?
You get up and eat breakfast every day. You have that cheap waffle griddle. I feel like that's always a staple. You got the waffle griddle, you got the toaster with your jams, and that's the bed and breakfast. At least that's my bed and breakfast.
Do it. Let's go. Download Unity. Let's go.
Be like, hey guys, this is also my recording studio. It's a waffle maker. The freezer doesn't work, so no ice.
It's a gritty game.
It is. Speaking of gritty, bear and no, Deathloop. Now I'm like, okay, because I talked about last week of like, I'm not gonna say not feeling comfortable, but they push a lot out new on first, and I'm still in that early beginning stage. Like I haven't killed the first whatever boss, but now I'm like, yeah, but I'm like, okay, like. So, Jess, Juliana just entered the game, like as in hunting you down. So I hacked the radio signal. I ran as fast as I can, and that's where I stopped.
Did you kill her or did you just run?
I ran. I don't know what weapon she has.
Yeah, it's Juliana is I get why people are like, I'm sure they're not talking about her actual character because I actually really enjoy Juliana as a character. I think she's a great antagonist. You really get like, Juliana. But my God, is it annoying when you're about to finish a loop and she just shows up, which actually I forgot to mention last week. She did right before I was supposed to come on the podcast. I was playing Deathloop and I had just I killed a visionary. I had a really good power off them. I got a really good gun. I'd done a lot of stuff in like progressing the story. And she shows up and I'm like, well, I can't get off it now. I'm sorry if I'm late for this podcast. I'm late for this podcast. And I'm trying to
Oh,
run
so
from
you were
Juliana.
making tea.
That was me making tea after I was going to be late. Priorities.
Sure.
And she did the exact same thing last night when I was about to complete the game. All I had to do, Mark, was go to this objective across the map, and that's the game completed, basically. And who shows up but Juliana and kills me because I had no more lives left. So she's very frustrating to deal with sometimes, but it does add this little layer of, I guess, like anxiety playing, but it's kind of good because you know she could appear at any point. It adds a little bit of variety to you going through the loops. So when you go to a different area at the same time, you never quite know what's going to happen. Can be frustrating, and a little scary.
Like, just from that description, like her character is amazing. Like, great antagonist, like gets under your skin, but very fun. Like, you'll love to hate her.
Yeah.
But as a gameplay mechanic, not in terms of frustration, like this is broken or bugged or whatever, but it's like, ooh.
She kind of reminds me of Mr. X, but you didn't play Resident Evil 2. He can just show up randomly. He is hunting you constantly. It's although as opposed to that being scary, this is just like, oh my god, my stuff, I'm gonna lose my stuff. Run.
Ooh. Now I want to play Resident Evil.
You should.
Trust me, Jess. We'll talk about horror when we talk about the reviews.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Ooh, I know. A little sensitive to listen further.
We're on fire today, Mark.
I know. I finally came into my own as a KeenGamer podcast host, which is sad because I'll be leaving next week. I'm kidding.
I swear to God, that's how you
I'm that's how my announcement of like, all right, peace.
Bye.
I had 10 out of 10 transitions. Bye.
You peaked. You can't get any better, yeah.
Yeah, it's like when you peak, where do you go from here?
Just
to
leave.
another podcast.
Okay,
Well,
stop
our
joking about this.
Patreon page got shot down, so what do I have to look for?
Wow. Okay. So I think you haven't done a lot since then.
No, but now I'm like finding out bits and pieces, and I'm like, oh, maybe the plan to die each loop 3 times isn't the best plan.
No, I wouldn't recommend that.
I think my favorite weapon has to be the auto turret.
Oh yeah.
So, for people who haven't played, you have a hackimajiggy or whatever it's called, but that's actually the name. But it's like
Hackimajig, I think.
Hackmajig. So you can hack different things, including like the auto turn, like it just like has like motion sensors. Like if you're caught, boom, 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 boom. That was my gun noise.
That's what
You
the gun
can't be
noise is going to
too
be on
realistic with the gun
high in
noise.
life.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Bow, 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 bow.
Yeah.
But the coolest thing about that, you can what is it like deploy? No, deploy is activating it. You can like turn it off and it'll just shrink down to a briefcase. So you can just carry around with a briefcase. So it was during the fireworks show and there was 2 of them. So along with 2 other motion sensors that I hacked all of them. Set it up like, all right, I'm going to put one on the left, one on the right. And then it killed some enemies. They chased me, ran like hell, and they got caught in the crossfire.
Nice. It is. It's got that Dishonored thing where I don't think that there's not a lot of variety in how you can end the game, basically, which was another complaint I see of people. There only really is one solution, but one, it's super satisfying when you get to that solution and you do it, and 2, there's so many gameplay variations that you can do. Like, I barely use the turrets. Like, I hack them sometimes, not really. Like, you can just go the game just picking up turrets and setting them down and having them kill people. all your powers create such variety in how you can approach the situation. And towards the end of this playthrough, because my first one on PlayStation, I was trying to be stealth, so it was a shift power, which you can like shift yourself, like you're
Yeah.
jumping really far, like immediately, and like the invisibility one called Ether. That was like traditional Dishonored stealth, trying to approach the situation like that. This time, I had really cool powers, which I focused on basically just killing people because I wanted to get through as quick as possible. And you do have to be careful of your health, but when you get like a streak of like a frenzy, like a murder, like it's so satisfying when you get that method as opposed to what I remember doing on my other method, and then you can do it in between. I just think it it's such a good game because it does have that variety, and yes, there's only one way you can solve the puzzle of, the Deathloop, but the way you get there is just totally your own bespoke gameplay experience, and I'm really excited to see what your favorite guns and all turn out to be.
So I only played a little bit of Dishonored, so bear with me. I feel like Dishonored, you do have two paths. Like
Mhm.
you can go aggressive or you can go stealth, but I feel like they really want you to go stealth.
Yeah.
Or maybe that's like the guilt in me. It's like there's no Catholic guilt in me. There's stealth game guilt. I don't like when I'm not selfie. I'm like, ah, this. Why do I have to go bombastic?
Mm. I feel like you're right, and that's the reason why I didn't get it and, like, the setting, it just didn't really click with me in Dishonored, whereas Deathloop, it is play the way you want to, because you can get these trinkets that will increase your health, increase your power, like, increase how effective something is, like, you really have such variety, and it is not forcing you to do stealth at all, although it is recommended in the beginning of the game because you don't have a bunch of powers. That's
Exactly.
probably one of the negatives, like, but you don't wanna get all that at the beginning as well as that massive tutorial wall that you got.
Yeah,
But,
I understand why they did it, and it's a lot more rewarding. It's like, hey, here's these powers, and it's like, oh,
yeah, like, in particular, I use one power in this called Nexus. Won't tell you what it does. Totally changed the game for me, like, completely different game I played this time around.
I'm gonna Google that because I'll definitely forget. Or you can just tell me right now.
Well, it's not a massive spoiler. One of your powers is that you can well, listen away now if you haven't played Deathloop and you wanna go in totally fresh, but one of the powers is that you can hit someone with Nexus and, like, this glow will go to another person, and as you upgrade it, it'll go to loads more people, and when you kill one of those people, they're all dead, and it is
Oh, so it's
just
like a hive mind kind of thing.
yeah, it was so cool
Dope.
at the end of the game, I did it, on one random, like, mercenary, what were they called? Eternalists?
Hmm.
They're, like, the grunts in this, and it
Wait, why
linked
did
it
they go like, mm-hmm? Yeah, yeah. Like, I don't know.
it linked
Yeah,
to
yeah.
everyone in the room, and just one shot, and everybody in that room was dead, like, it was, like, 20 people. It was really satisfying, and I killed the visionary like that, and it was really cool, and I'm like, "Why didn't I use this before? I'm such an idiot."
And maybe I don't care about, I mean, I do care about stealth, but it's one of the disappointing things. Like, again, I wish online trophies were separate from offline because I don't like to go online.
Is this the Juliana stuff?
Probably. I'm assuming there's like Juliana trophies.
There's only 2 if that makes you feel any better.
It doesn't. No, it does. Okay, okay, that's not bad, but
Mm.
I
One of
don't
them
know.
is
Am I gonna
just
go?
disguise yourself as cult, and then the other one is kill cult. Um,
Yeah.
honestly, they're not too bad, and you can cheese it really easily if someone else is playing. I'll help you, Mark.
Eh. But I don't think I'm gonna go trophy hunting for that one.
Oh, really?
There's so many October games.
Mm.
Gotham Knights, Plague Tale, Requiem, Mario and Rabbits.
That's right. Scorn. Overwatch 2 for Overwatch fans.
And then it's like, I hope I save money for God of War.
Mm. Yeah.
Ooh, God of War. So hyped. But
Are you liking Deathloop then? Or I suppose you haven't really even scratched the surface of the powers and everything.
I haven't really scratched the surface, but as I said, like last week, I love the aesthetic of it. I love the voice acting of like. There's self games where it's like you got to take out your enemies, and this is like
Yeah.
and I like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And all that, I'm like, okay, like understanding, like I do like the Memento style of like figuring out the things. Like beginning spoiler, I just found out like Colt is head of security. I don't know what that entails, but I'm like, what? All of a sudden, I just see a poster of like Colt just posing head of security. I'm like, so that is quite a demotion. And I'm like, well, what is even the loop? Are they like, and I see signs all over the place. Like, is everyone like just bored of existing? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. That's
It's
like
like,
one of its strongest points for me is that you do get this environmental storytelling. There's not I don't think there's a cutscene in the game, like maybe one. It's all gameplay. It's all talking. It's all you discovering like an immersive sim, like Des Ex, Prey type thing. It's very satisfying.
because if there is no point of dying, then who cares? Oh yeah, you didn't think I was gonna get deep on this episode, did you?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Talking point. Would you Deathloop?
What is the situation I'm in?
You have to do a KeenGamer podcast every day for the rest of your life.
You see,
And you have to watch the same sports match over and over again the rest of your life.
oh, that's
You have
tough.
to you have to watch the Giants lose. Oh wait, yeah, you already do.
Wow. Okay. You know, October 11th can't come any sooner, Noah. Just JK.
Yeah, I know.
You damn Eagles fan. Well, undefeated. Jalen
Best
Hurts.
record in the league.
Ooh. Yeah, because Tua went down.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
really
I brought the
stings for the
podcast down
Dolphins.
with concussion talk. How about that, Jessica?
Why are you so aggressive all of a sudden? That's what
Noah
sports
brought it
does
on
to you.
himself.
Yeah.
This is sports. I was going to make a joke of
Americans
like,
are like this.
oh, we are
yeah,
like,
yeah.
Yeah, we are. Yeah.
again, Eagles fans and Giants fans don't mix well.
Yeah, especially our sports they call it a division. Yeah, it's all extremely
Yeah.
hostile. The teams and fans just do not like each other.
Well, don't take it out on me, Mark. Didn't
Too
do
late.
anything.
But oh my god, if I had a Deathloop every day,
Okay, if you
Wait a
had the
second.
Deathloop on this island every day, would you do it? Because I feel like I would.
who am I with?
Everyone in Deathloop. And actually, yeah, Juliana's trying to get you.
No.
Yeah, it's a scary situation.
I am what you call an introvert. Like it's like my niece Charlotte got COVID. She's all good, but we're not having my nephew's birthday party on Tuesday. And I'm like, oh yeah. I don't have to go out.
I really hope your family doesn't listen to the podcast.
Again, I remember like being scared shitless when it's like, what's your podcast? I'm like, KeenGamer? I'm gonna listen to it.
Like, oh
I'm
god,
like-
not the one where I'm insulting the family.
Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't know which one. It was the Doctor Strange 2 review, and he stopped listening after 5 minutes. He was like, wow, you're really good. I just have no clue what you guys are talking about with your superhero stuff.
You were like, oh my god, thank god.
And I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna be so mad if he's like 10 out of 10. Didn't you give it 10 out of 10? I can't wait to listen. Whoops. But anything else from you, Jessica, from Deathloop?
Well, I completed it now. And it took me I'm right at the end of that PlayStation playthrough, so I'm gonna go back on PlayStation and complete it. I can't believe I left it like literally right at the end. And I will say I do kind of get the one thing I heard from people because I hadn't completed it was a really good game, didn't like the ending. I get where they're coming from because it's not this big grandiose thing because you do pick up all the stuff from, in the environment. That's how they tell their story.
Mhm.
But it doesn't take away, even if you don't like the ending, it doesn't take away from that amazing gameplay experience you have going through. Like, that's the story of Deathloop for me. Searching the areas, finding the information on your own, sorting out what the actual loop is. I really enjoyed it. And I will be trying to get the platinum for it now when I go back to the PlayStation. I really recommend Deathloop.
Now, let me just say this with the ending. Gameplay satisfaction aside, is it satisfying in a story character way?
Probably go for no. Although, yeah, I know, but everything else leading up to it is so good. I would just say I get it when people not. It does kind of just end. There's no.
Oh,
Yeah, there is. You can't. You do have 3 options for the ending. By the way, just let you know because I didn't know. And there is an additional scene that they've added on during this Golden Loop update the year later, so you'll have it if you at least for one of the endings. I didn't get it because I chose something else. So maybe that will be satisfying to you. But yeah, it's not just don't expect all the answers at the end. You have to kind of search for them in the game yourself.
gotcha. All right. So moving on to you, Noah. Still playing Tak 1. How's that going?
It's going well. I finished the game. I got to revisit all my favorite areas, do all my favorite things. It was good. Yeah. So yeah, one thing that I really look forward to each time is there's this neighboring village to where Tak lives called Chicken Islands, where these people worship chickens, and it's great. It's a funny place to be, and eventually you have to get what's called a moonstone from there, and you got to go through their temple, their massive towering temple, and it's one of the more unique puzzles of the game because you got to go through these stages and you've got to get these chicken eggs which function as keys out of these areas where chickens are and get them to the middle to put them in like a little frying pan where it serves as a key to get the tower to move upward. Yeah, so and the thing that makes it difficult is getting the eggs. They're usually like behind like doors. You have to use buttons to open stuff, jump around, and also the chickens will chase you if you're holding one. And if they hit you, then you'll drop it. So you've got to work with all these things together to kind of like get the egg in the first place and then get it out of there and get it way all the way back to where the big elevator is. Then at the top, you go through this boss fight with the 2 of the villain's henchmen, Pins and Needles, and you got to like launch exploding eggs at them to get them to fall. It's a great level.
So, again, where are you playing this?
Where? Well,
Oh,
I
okay, at
think
your home. Like what
at my home.
platform? Yeah.
It would be on my Wii, which functions
Uh,
as it has built-in
GameCube.
GameCube. Yeah, I have a GameCube, but it's
Oh,
it's
is
in
it
like a
only out on
plastic
GameCube?
thing. Yeah, this is GameCube era
Ah.
game right here. Yeah.
I didn't know if this was like an Xbox One kind of game because
No,
I know it was
no.
released in that generation, but you're playing it via that.
I don't recall it being that late. I think it may have been re-released on the 360 kind of thing, but no, like I play it on GameCube.
Gotcha. And yeah, I was thinking of PlayStation 2.
Oh,
PlayStation.
that's yeah.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah,
different
that
generation.
era. So yeah, I like old games.
Is it
Yeah,
kind of because I've
more.
heard you talk about it for a while? Is it kind of like a Ratchet and Clank, Jack and Daxter type thing, like action adventure, changing your weapons sort of thing?
I'd say it's less sophisticated than that. It's a classic platformer. The first one doesn't commit all the way to platformer, but the mechanics really reflects that of a platformer. So
Mm.
in the following sequels, they were like, okay, we're just committing all the way to this because there's no point in doing this semi-open world that we have. So yeah, I guess it's kind of like Spyro. If you ever played that, that'd be like a
I was gonna
popular
Okay.
reference
say, is
point.
this more like Spyro?
Mm.
Yeah, I'm just kind of thinking a GameCube era games are kind of like this. Yeah, I guess Spyro would be kind of like it. Oh, Crash Bandicoot would be a good reference point too.
These are pretty good comparisons.
Yeah,
Do you think it holds up, like, if someone were to play it new now, or is it, like, because you were used to it when you were younger that you still enjoy it?
uh, this first one can be hard if you just don't know what to do. You need to solve these puzzles to advance. And when I was a little kid, like I was telling Mark last time I talked about this game, like if I would rage quit because I just got stuck. Yeah,
Yeah.
but then like when I was maybe more like 9 or 10, I was capable of using the internet so I could figure things out. Yeah,
You know, kids today have it so easy. They can go to
yeah,
KeenGamer.com and look up all the
right, yeah.
guides. You know,
Another
back
10
in
out of
my
10.
day, I just restarted the game. I'm like, okay, maybe I'll figure out then.
Oh my
I
god,
didn't.
yes, same, Mark, and I used to play a lot of RPGs when I was younger, and I'm like, "Well, I'm stuck in Final Fantasy at Disc 3 again. I guess I'll just restart the game." That's not gonna fix it for me. What was I
You
doing?
know, I can't, because maybe Noah, you played this game. Remember the first Nicktoons Unite?
Kind of, yeah.
It was like it was my MCU Avengers moment, Jessica. SpongeBob, Jimmy Neutron, Timmy Turner, and Danny Phantom all together, one game that was just okay. But I got stuck in this one level. I've never beaten the game, but I'm like, well, I just got to restart, or maybe I'll figure it out then.
What were you even thinking?
Nonsense. That's what I was
Yeah.
thinking.
I didn't even use GameFAQs when I was younger, even though I was on the internet all the time. Such a dumb little child I was.
Yeah, you were.
Yeah, can't even deny it.
And Noah, because your Chicken Island description, I'm like, oh, I want to see pictures of this, and it's all food. Now I'm starving.
Oh no, not this again.
Don't worry, I got instead of ibuprofen, I got ZQL gummies.
Oh, thank God. Oof.
Yeah,
Saved.
yeah, melatonin to the rescue. But so you beat in? Is that like near the last level, the Chicken Island, Noah?
It's near to it. The moonstones are the thing you do before the final boss fight.
And so, what is the main? I'm not gonna say objective, but what is the story of the game?
So there's this evil shaman who has this resentment of their tribe's called the Pupanunu people, and I didn't realize until I was much older that that's clearly meant to be a funny name. So
Wait. When you were younger, were you like, "Wow, my God, the Pooba Nubu"?
I never noticed it. I was much older. It's really the weirdest thing. So yeah, so really, if you look up like the opening cinematic, the tribe shaman Jabolba explains it pretty well. That there was this other guy, Tlaylock, who wanted to be the shaman of the village, but he was passed on because he had these like he was like a dark shaman. He did things and they didn't like. So so Tlaylock left the village and set off like on his own. And yeah, he made pins and needles, his two henchmen, and they're meant to kind of look like voodoo dolls. They're cool little villains. And there's this prophecy that one day Tlaylock, to seek revenge, will turn all the Pupanunu people into sheep. And yeah, so that happens, that comes to pass, but the prophecy also says that what they call the great and mighty warrior of the Pupanunu people will save them. Like he'll go get all this stuff. He'll get the moonstones, and he'll defeat Taillock, and he'll turn them back into people. So yeah, so it starts out, and he says, "I've trained the great and mighty warrior," and it's this guy Locke, and Locke is voiced by Patrick Warburton. It's that character,
Ooh.
and then Tak comes in with Locke, and Locke is a sheep. So Jabal was like, "Wait, if Locke's a sheep, what crap? What do we do now?" So he sends Tak out to go do stuff that, like, to get stuff to turn Locke back into a human, and kind of make preparations for Locke to fulfill his destiny. And as you might expect, as it turns out, Locke isn't the prophesized warrior. Tak is. Yeah, because it's really pretty obvious, but to a little kid it might not be, because you're Tak and you're doing all the things that the mighty warrior is prophesized to do.
Oh yeah, dumb little Jessica wouldn't have caught on to that. She wasn't even
like
using context.
That would have been my Darth Vader moment. It'd be like, oh my god.
It's like a Kung Fu Panda moment, like where you realize, like, this great and mighty warrior doesn't have to be what you imagine. Like, so long as he does these things, it can be this little dude.
That's cool. That's cool. I really do need to sort it out, like actually play Tak, because you talk about it a lot. Hi. You talk about it a lot, and I do like Spyro and Crash. So if it's anything like that, I would definitely give it a go.
You may be able to get some digital version of it nowadays, but yeah, it's a fantastically drawn game. Like I always say, it's like my favorite art style of any game ever. These cute little characters, little creatures, and especially in the first one, there's these hidden animations that serve no role for the game, but if you like mess with certain animals, they'll give you this funny little animation. Like if you have a melon, like, animals are meant to chase melons. So if you have a melon and there's an orangutan that wants it, and you like throw it on the ground, like smash it, he'll give you this disappointing, like, no. It's great.
You played it, Mark?
No.
Now I know what can be disappointed at you.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right. So that was the games that we're playing right now. Or I guess were, because you guys are done.
Yeah.
I'm still playing. I'm still chugging along. Maybe at the game of the year, I'll be like, guys, I finished Deathloop. Now about God of War. Nah, just kidding. Oh, I'll finish God of War. Just when. I gotta avenge it, Jija.
Mark's dad stopped listening.
Oh, we are like 30-ish minutes into this podcast.
Oh yeah, he's done.
Oh yeah, he's like, what? So how did he like Deathloop? I don't know. But let's move on to the news. And guys, we're gonna start on a very somber note, because Google Stadia is shutting down. And I'm gonna be honest, like Google Stadia, like, shutting down is like Queen Elizabeth dying, as in, oh, didn't Google Stadia like ended months ago? It was still kicking? Oh, RIP, man. You see, if Daniel was on this podcast, he'd be like, "Woo!"
But he
would have loved that analogy, I think. But so there's a lot to get through, because it's not just shutting down. It's just like a whole mess of things that came out. But in a statement, Phil Harrison said, "We're grateful to the dedicated Stadia players that have been with us from the start." He didn't say how many players, just keep that in mind. "We will be refunding all Stadia hardware purchases made through the Google Store, and all game and add-on content purchases made through the Stadia Store. Players will continue to have access to their game library and play through January 18th, 2023, so they can complete final play sessions. We expect to have the majority of refunds completed by mid-January 2023. We have more details for players on this process on our help center. So, Noah, what's your thoughts on all this?
Yeah, so it is kind of disappointing to see that the first major attempt at giving Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo a fourth competitor has kind of failed. You might consider the Steam Deck kind of in there though, but yeah, like Google, like that's one of the world's biggest companies, so it is kind of like if they try and fail at this Stadia thing, it is like does kind of say like man, if they can't do it, who can? Like these companies might be the rulers of this industry forever, but I kind of feel like they made some missteps along the way. Like they didn't really land any enticing exclusive deals to me, which yeah, like when I heard rumors a little while ago about Amazon potentially acquiring EA, that I said like, man, like if they make this happen, then that's their chance to compete with the big companies. But no, they didn't make a bid. So yeah, I'd say yeah, there's also the element of like these refunds. I'm like they're refunding every purchase ever that's been made on Stadia. Like really? I want to make sure
I guess so.
understand. Like that,
I think they said, oh yes, because they said hardware,
and
and
hardware
then yeah, anything but through their store.
through their store.
So, because I've seen a couple of people saying, "Well, I bought mine on eBay," so they're not getting their money back.
Yeah,
Ooh.
it's not like that's going to hurt Google that much. That's a lot of lost money. Yeah.
Jessica, what about you?
Yeah, Noah has a really great point there. Like, well, if Google can't do it, like who the hell can? And he also brings up the other great point of, well, if they had bought, like, say Stadia, Google had bought EA, that's a whole different story. And I feel like this is why acquisitions are like rampant in the industry right now, because people are like, oh crap, we need to like secure this, because finally the companies are like, oh shit, it's the games. People like the games. That's what they go to a console for. Like, yes, it's really nice having like quick resume on Xbox, right? Like I like the cloud stuff on Xbox. I did not switch from a PS4 to an Xbox because of that. I switched to it because of Game Pass, because there was so many games and I wanted to play. Yes, they're first party stuff, but the third party stuff they get as well on Game Pass. I didn't want to spend like 70 pounds on that. And the same would have been why I would have got a PS5. If they had announced some massive exclusives at the start of the PS5's life cycle, I would have been like, yeah, I actually think I'll get a PS5. Like if KOTOR came out day one PS5 exclusive, that was me getting it. And yeah, Stadia apparently paid like millions and millions of pounds for securing third-party games, but they were available on the PlayStation and Xbox anyway, like Assassin's Creed and all that. Like, what were people's incentive for getting Stadia? And the whole thing around it was that it's cloud. But it failed because cloud, it can't take off like right now, just like on live, and there was another one before it. It's not going to work yet. It works with Xbox because it's an option. You can stream games on Xbox if you want to, but you can download them as well, which is what many people playing games want, because it's just better. You don't have to rely on having a good internet connection. I just don't think this can take off yet unless it is a part of a subscription, like the Xbox something. And Google failing on this is a big, after spending so much money on it as well, is a big red flag for anybody trying to do this as well.
So, and I will point out, like, granted, I have not tested a lot of internet connections with this, just my own, but on Nintendo Switch, they have, I've had pretty good experiences with cloud gaming.
Okay.
So, Nintendo, I know I'm a big anti-Nintendo fan, Inside joke, wink. But let me just I understand the point of like, if Google can't do it, who can? And Google is one of the biggest companies in the world. But my God, they have so many failed things. Google Stadia, Google Plus, and the circles. Uh remember Google Glass?
Not really.
Come on. Like and then they tried like the Google Daydream, which was like their VR device. So uh,
Well,
it's
off that, I think Google's one of their problem is they're constantly chasing trends. Like,
exactly.
they're not trying to come up with anything innovative on their own, and you're never gonna. Well, maybe you can, but it's very hard to succeed where someone is already doing it better. Like, why would you switch to these Google ones when you're already using, I don't know, like Twitter instead of Circles or Facebook instead of Circles, or you've already got a what are they called, MetaQuest,
Yeah.
Oculus devices, like
Mhm.
instead of their VR. Like, why would you do that? It has to surpass it and be worth it. And Stadia at the beginning as well was not worth it. You had to do like the founders pack with it and everything. You had to buy the controller.
You had to get
Became
the subscription service.
yeah, it became better towards the end, but they also had horrible PR from the beginning of it. It's kind of like the Xbox One. Like, it's really hard to recover from like a disappointment like that. And
Oh, I
there
still
were
bought the Xbox One. And then all of a sudden, Spider-Man was like, pew, 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 pew. And I'm like, ooh.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, and then also they were just constantly, this is kind of like a warning sign for like early adapters of new technology, because they were constantly saying it's not shutting down, we're supporting it, here you go, here you go. Even a couple of months ago, was it 6 months ago, when they said they're shutting down their internal studios? They're like, oh, but we're still releasing things on Stadia. Like, no, it's gone now. It's just gone. You can't play these on Stadia anymore after January 2023.
And yeah, Google is like the perfect example. Like, yes, they're super successful, but their side projects is like, let's chase this trend.
Hmm.
And it never works. Maybe like a couple of things, but it's just like, ooh. They've had a lot of oofs. Again, a lot of success. No one's like, ooh, let's beat it. I like
As
Bane.
much as Microsoft wants that, no.
Yeah.
Did you ever
But
have Stadia? Because I never did, because my internet, well, it used to
no.
be awful. So I was like, I was one of the people going, I'll never get a pure subscription service because it just would not work for me.
Well, the games they offered, I already had.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's like, oh, let's play it. And it's like, at least with like the Switch, which I always bring up, it's mobile. You can play it
Hmm.
on the go. Yeah, even with a cloud base. I mean, you can just be in a good Wi-Fi, but like any old games that you have, like that's why the Steam Deck is so alluring. Like playing these new games on the go. Like I want to play Spider-Man on the go. But
Yeah.
Jessica, you're gonna buy me a Steam Deck in like 2 months, so it's all good.
Edit
Yeah.
this.
No, that's my move. No. Jessica, edit that part when he said edit that part. Oh, but
Did you ever have Stadia, Noah? No.
I didn't. I one thing I do appreciate about it is I did kind of like their branding, like that Stadia, like that.
Stadia.
That's I guess
Yeah.
it's not really a slogan, but what do you call that? The jingle,
Jingle?
maybe.
Like a
Yeah,
jingle. It's like
yeah,
Sega.
Yeah, that's
right.
classic.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, and I was looking at that, and yeah, I guess the name Stadia, I was like, okay, I could vibe with this. This is okay work here, but yeah, and they didn't do what they needed to do with terms of the actual games.
And what's interesting, I'm looking at two different things. One is the impact that this will have on Amazon Luna. I don't
Mm.
have Luna. Jessica, do you have it?
Nope.
Because I don't know who on the podcast said this, but or actually, you know what? It was from actually a different podcast, like not a KeenGamer.
How
It
dare
was
you?
kind of funny. I know. I listened to other podcasts.
Hey, those guys have never heard of them.
Guys got edited out. We might have Greg Miller as a guest one day.
Sure.
We'll have Greg Miller from like Idaho. It's a common name.
Yeah, and the title, Greg Miller on the KeenGamer podcast.
Greg Miller joins the KeenGamer podcast. I was like, hey, my name's Greg, and I love Xbox. But it's like Amazon Luna on one end. And did you see the report that Kojima wanted Death Stranding 2 to be a Google Stadia exclusive, or that was going to be, but it just fell through, which makes more sense because when he made the announcement wasn't a Death Stranding 2, but the at the Xbox conference in the Summer Game Fest, hey, Kojima's next game will be on Xbox, and the reason why is the cloud-based service.
You're right, Mark. I actually didn't think about that. That makes total sense. He wanted something with cloud technology.
Which makes me so curious even more of like, wait, Google, did you already knew like could you imagine if the Kojima wanted this in 2019? It still would have failed, but because that game is going to take a long time. But now I'm like, damn, what is this Kojima game? How is he going to use cloud-based technology? Because I feel like he's the only person. I'm not going to say save it, but can make it like bring a giant step forward.
Yeah, like he's got that. He loves innovation in games and being weird with technology around games, and he's got an established fan base, and he's well respected within, like, what people
He's
love the
got a
single player.
podcast.
He's got a podcast. Wow, what a dude!
Yeah, we can't get Kojima from Idaho. Maybe we can. Tag us in the comments if you know any.
Yeah, Greg Miller and Hideo Kojima join KeenGamer podcast. But Mark, you're totally right, because like, what would I have got a Stadia subscription for if you tell me that Kojima was doing something weird with cloud-based technology? All in, totally all in.
And
the
I
same
know,
thing
like,
with what we go back to is like, it's the games, it's the people
Yeah.
that make the games. You gotta have this, or people aren't gonna want to subscribe.
like, hey, the biggest thing, I mean, Sony has a lot going for them, but it's like the biggest thing is the exclusives.
Yep.
The biggest thing that Xbox has going for it is the massive library of Game Pass that they've acquired. And it's like Luna and Stadia. Actually, I haven't looked too far into Luna, so I'm just going to say Stadia. Stadia just felt like a side project for Google that they weren't really passionate about. They're like,
Yeah, it's
hey,
like,
this
we
will
want
work.
money from gaming.
Yeah, like, oh, let's go into gaming. That's not that hard. And then they're like, damn it.
They're like, oh shit, it is hard.
Oh, Bill Gates, how'd you do it? I don't know. But now I'm like curious, like, into Amazon Luna.
Honestly, it doesn't even cross my mind to get it again. It's a streaming thing as well. So I feel like maybe they have a branding problem as well.
Yeah, like,
I'm barely aware of it, and I don't want to use it because it's streaming.
Granted, if Amazon, I don't want to say, if you put your heart into it, because that's the thing. Like, so I'm on the page right now, and I love it. It's Sonic on the left. I forget the main character from Control on the right.
Jesse.
And then all of a sudden, I see below, I see Rey from Star Wars. And I scroll down, Star Wars Pinball.
Whoa, exclusive?
Yeah, I know. So that's like, so it's interesting, but it's like, what do I need? So it's a subscription thing. Do I need like is it a Fire Stick? What do I have to buy for Amazon Luna? Because it's just showing me subscription plans, which I get, but
Mhm.
this whole
Yeah,
podcast is me trying to figure out Amazon Luna, and it's like, Mark, we got 10 out of 10 games. I'm like, not now. I want to see if this will fail.
yeah. I mean, part of the problem is just how you market something. Like, look how PlayStation Now was marketed. This new PlayStation Plus system is basically PlayStation Now with the old PlayStation Plus, but it's marketed different. So there's more interest in it. There is more interest in what games are going to be added to this library now than there was before. Um, so yeah, you'd think these huge companies could maybe put a little bit more into the marketing, but for me, that's a major issue with Luna. I'm barely aware of it.
And I feel like I don't want to say the only thing. Oh, okay. This is interesting. So I know like they have something with like Ubisoft Plus. Ubisoft's just streaming subscription service. And while they kind of are going on consoles, like they're putting some games on PlayStation Plus, they'll put some games on Game Pass in the future. Just like all of it for $18 a month. Is it worth it? I don't know. It's your money. You do your thing. But Jess, I spoke into existence. They have Resident Evil 2 and 3.
Amazon Luna,
Yeah.
is this you subscribing?
Yeah.
Yeah, you be the guinea pig, test it out for us.
Yeah. I'm in.
You love giving money to corporations.
Oh, and no one's here to stop me. Oh, but now I'm like, what? All right. I'm gonna leave Luna alone. Like, the only thing I see, if you have Amazon Prime, you do get like a small rotation of games. Basically, like Games of Gold, the essential tier for PlayStation. Even though I think they probably got rid of Games with Gold, but
It's still there.
it's still there. Like, oh, I can't wait to give my money to corporations. And unless the Bills really let me down today, then I'll have no money. So go Josh Allen. All in. But anything else from this whole cloud-based gaming?
Not for me. We actually
I
covered it
think
pretty
we got
well.
it covered. Yeah.
Well, I already made the transition of speaking of the dead.
Oh, okay. Hold on.
Let's.
Hold on.
No, I want
Yeah,
to make it
I have
again.
no.
I
ha-
gotta do it again. No.
Stop.
No.
Go ahead, Mark.
Speaking of Pedro Pascal, I messed up my own transition. I guess I'm still part of the KeenGamer podcast. So sorry, Jessica. We finally got the Last of Us trailer. Not a 20-second preview, which was amazing, like a full-on teaser trailer. Jessica, we're big Last of Us fans. I know you're excited. How excited are you?
I'm a 10 out of 10 excited, Mark.
I'm gonna angry comment. How dare you?
Yeah. Oh, it was so good. And then the music choice for it. And you're right, it was such an extended look at it. Pedro Pascal, like, he really does look like Joel. Like, Bella Ramsey being there, seeing all the scenes that were in the game being translated onto this, some different stuff.
Left Behind DLC.
Yeah, Melanie Linsky's gonna be there now. Like, oh my god.
As a original character.
Yeah, that was really interesting. I'm like, okay, so they're not doing it beat for beat from the game.
Which, as they should, not do a beat for beat. Because if you wanted to play beat for beat, play the game.
Yeah, or you can watch like a cutscene thing on YouTube, like, and it really holds up.
But if you, it's so good to the point where fans who weren't familiar with The Last of Us were like, oh, the show came first, like, or they're confusing the show with the game in terms of look, and particularly like the skyscraper that's like fallen over
Yeah.
when you're in the early part of Boston. I'm assuming
Yeah.
because they explain Noah like to get rid of the infected. What they tried to do was like bomb the city because it's like this mass population. So you see all these skyscrapers like towering, like standing still, but some are like just going down. And people are like, "Wait, what's the game? What's the movie?" Because it looks that good.
Hmm.
And I gotta say, the clickers.
Oh, my
I
God.
love. Did you see the? It was from Neil Druckmann that he tweeted out like the HBO like logo, but like the opening like
Yeah.
but at the end it was the sound of the clickers. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like I can't even do the clicker like I can't do like that.
You sound like a clicker choking.
It's like, oh my god, like,
That's the clicker getting choked out by Joel. Um,
you knew this was coming back for a bit, Jessica.
yeah. The clicker looked incredible. Like they are putting a really good amount of money into this. Like obviously they have Pedro Pascal and
that and the sound design of those clickers, and just like the
yeah,
movement, because it's like I probably explained this to you, Noah. Like basically, they have like as if you're dead, if you're infected, over time, the fungi like goes over your whole face, so you become blind. So they have to use like echolocation. So that's why they do like the clicking sounds,
Hmm.
not the choking sounds.
Okay. That okay. Now I
Yeah,
get.
so that's and it's like the like movements of like like
yeah. Which is why when we always talk about this, we're like, oh, okay, this is an evolution of like a different type of zombie because it isn't just zombies. It's no, these are clickers. Like yes, it takes some of the tropes, but they are entirely unique and they look like in that horror way, like really beautiful.
yeah,
And they
and
have
Yeah,
they're
I
like
really
kind
liked
of
how they looked. Yeah.
like they look like they look so good. Everything looks so good. I tweeted out alone and for bacon Forspoken. I don't know. I'm so choking for that's that this stuff. Jessica, this is a family podcast. My dad will maybe not listen to this. I love Jessica. You're like, are we gonna have another burn the world down podcast? I'm like, nah. No, it's a part of this. No,
Yeah.
like you're just witness to the fire.
You gotta keep us in check, Noah. Keep him in check.
Yeah, you do. But Noah, as someone who was not familiar with The Last of Us, and this is not an HBO Max exclusive, which thank God, because they would probably cancel it. It will be on HBO Max or whatever Discovery Plus thing they have in the future. But this is an HBO original. So Noah, just based on this teaser, you're gonna watch it?
I hope so. I really hope so. I have HBO Max now because I'm watching. What are the shows on there?
Harley Quinn.
There's Harley Quinn. Well, that ended, and they also have House of the Dragon. I've been
Oh,
watching that. So yeah, I really liked the look of it. I think it's interesting. They have two Game of Thrones actors in there, Pedro Pascal
Mhm.
and
wow! I didn't
Ramsay.
even put that connection together.
Yeah, and it's also interesting that they also take this non-conventional route to zombies with plants. A Game of Thrones, it was ice zombies, White Walkers.
Mm.
Yeah, I really liked how it looked. The sounds were interesting. The designs were interesting. I'd absolutely watch it.
Awesome. Noah's
Yeah.
becoming a Last of Us fan.
Woohoo.
Woo! But I'm so curious. Like, this is Actually, this is still on topic. So we're talking about in the pre-show of how like Cyberpunk is now getting this boom from the anime, which I didn't even know they had an anime coming out. So, and we talked about like that, and when the Witcher show comes out, like each season, like you see a big boost in like the Witcher 3 sales. Again, this is why they did the remake.
Yeah. Mhm.
You might hate it. It's corporations. What do you expect? That's why they put the $70. Hopefully they lower it for newcomers, but we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm more excited of like what's the changes they're gonna do.
Same. Yeah, because it's already it said in the press release for Sam and is it Henry? Sam and Henry?
Yeah, but Sam's the kid, right?
Yes.
Yes. I'm like, I don't want to mess it up. Like
I know.
Sam will be deaf.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I actually missed that. But that's another interesting thing that they're switching up then as well.
I don't know if they sent a press release of the show, but they're I'm pretty sure like they said it in the casting.
Yeah, okay. That's cool. They're changing that. They're changing where Joel and Ellie meet Sam and Henry as well, and that's where apparently Melanie Linsky's character is going to come in. So, like, it's not in the same city anymore. I think it's Philadelphia now instead of where was it before?
Really?
Yeah, it was like represent.
Yeah,
Although I don't think you want these people representing you. Just
yeah. So that is Sam will be deaf in the show. There will be this revolutionary moment in movement like Kansas City,
Was it? It's Kansas instead of Philadelphia?
or something
Pittsburgh.
like that.
Sorry. Yeah.
Oh, I'm like,
I'm not American. They're all the same, right?
Yeah.
America just shook my entire camera.
how dare you?
Uncle Sam. No.
USA, USA. But just like stuff like that, like, yeah, we welcome changes. Like, even the big ones, like, as long as they make sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, stick to the. I feel like The Last of Us, one of its biggest thing is sticking to the emotional beats. But I don't think they're going to
Exactly.
change any of that. Like, it's all going to result in the same sort of thing. So I think it's really interesting, and I really love it when they adapt stuff like this. Because otherwise you could be. Because one of the things I've seen is because with any major franchise that people love policing fun. They're like, "Ugh, why would anybody want to
Gatekeepers.
watch this?" Yeah, gatekeepers, and then just people being totally down on something, and just
Oh,
like,
we'll get to The Last of Us and Gatekeepers in a
"Oh
little
no,
bit.
yeah,
Trust
we
us.
will."
Woo,
Yeah,
woo.
but some
But,
people have said like, "Why would you watch this when you've played the game?" And you're like, "Because it's not the game. It's an adaptation of the game, and they're going to
yeah,
do different things. And sometimes you don't want to go through an entire game. You do just want to experience the story. This is that story with a different cast, a different direction. Like, yeah, Neil Druckerman's involved in it, but like it's
a lot
clearly
of involvement.
different. Mhm.
Exactly. And so I've not watched the show. So Noah, help me out. Halo. Oh, I just saw that unmute button go off. So let me just say this, and I have not played Halo games. Halo is his whole universe. There's so many games. There's a lot of different directions you can take. And again, you probably don't like the directions they take in Halo. Again, but that's the thing. Why I'm saying that, The Last of Us is a very straightforward game, very cinematic, even though there is so much world building. This is not, they only had 2 games and 1 DLC. So it's like, it's going to be sucky going on Twitter and seeing all those gatekeepers like, why would they change this? Well, I feel like Halo and other shows like that, or like even the Sonic movies, can have flexibility. And I bet the showrunner from Halo is like, flexibility? All right, Master Chief. Face.
Yeah.
So I'm very curious, but I'm very optimistic. And
Yes, it looks very
hopefully,
high quality, like extremely
oh,
high quality. Very
like
HBO.
like I gotta get the guy's name, but the creator, the showrunner is
Ooh, the
Craig
guy did.
Mazin. Yeah, he did
Yes.
Chernobyl.
Yeah, like
It's this
that's high quality.
and it's interesting because HBO, so that's an HBO original. This was right after Game of Thrones ended, and everyone's like, "All right, done with HBO, cancel my subscription." And soon after, that was the show that brought a lot of people back. Won a lot of awards. It's a mini series, 6 episodes or around that. Go watch it. Fantastic. And if you see the size and scope of like the disaster of Chernobyl and the emotional beats of all of that, imagine that with The Last of Us.
Yeah, very optimistic. One thing I'm curious of your point on this, what you think. Do you think they're going to tell the whole first game on Left Behind, or do you think they're going to leave it at a certain point? Because if I'm correct, the furthest point they've shown in the game so far is the bit where Ellie's in the house and Joel's like, "You don't know what loss is."
You have no idea what lost
Yes.
is.
Yeah, like that's the furthest I've seen it so far. So I'm wondering, are they going to stop it around there, or are they going to do the whole game?
I think they might stop around there. I don't know. Like maybe because I'm a greedy little boy and I want more content, but I want you don't have to stretch out because you might say like, oh, a game stretched out to like 8 or 10 episodes. But yet again, the game is a long game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And especially adding the original stuff, like I don't know, maybe they'll do like flash forwards
Oh, I hope
to
not.
that. Yeah, you have flashbacks. I don't know. Who knows? It's
Yeah, I feel like they're gonna leave it around there to maybe have, because like more content to explore this world is always completely fine with me.
that, and it's like when you end let's say the first season is the whole game.
Mhm.
You gonna do anything between part 1 and 2, or are you just gonna go straight to season 2 with
Yeah.
part 2? That's the thing.
Interesting. Mhm.
And Noah's like, I don't care. Like they can end it whenever they want. Watch it.
Yeah.
But so that is the news of the week. Now let's move on to our main topic because it's a 10 out of 10. I prepared that joke for 2 days and I really thought I was going to land.
I was
more like a 0 out of 10. Am I right?
I was a little distracted trying to get the tabs up, Mark. So I apologize.
So we will be talking all things 10 out of 10s from this site alone. We're not going to IGN and GameSpot, other sites. If you want, you can just Google that yourself. But we're talking all things 10 out of 10s and close to 10 out of 10s reviews from KeenGamer.com. And by the way, you can see all these reviews on KeenGamer.com. Have I said KeenGamer.com enough? KeenGamer.com. Good. So
also, this is video game reviews because we've only recently started to do TV and movies. We're going to talk about that in when we're doing a review process later on. But
yeah,
every 10 out of 10, it's just video game reviews.
Because I don't know when this site got started, and we'll jump to it further. But the first 10 out of 10 was 2016.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole review process looks a lot different than it does now. Anyway, I think last year, April, May, that's when we finally started doing movie and TV reviews.
Mm-hmm.
But first and foremost, we're a gaming site. But yet again, we are more than a gaming site, as our tagline. Edit that. Keep in my bad joke.
Okay.
Edit that out.
Okay, got you.
So
what bad joke?
None of them. But all right, and back. So we just want to preference that we are definitely a smaller site. We're not on the level of IGN yet. So that means we get a lot more review codes for indie games, and we'll be honest, we don't get that many, or if not any, AAA games codes. We're trust us, like we're starting to get it more, but like years ago, it looks like no. But who knows? And keep in mind, like the big AAA games that we review, like we'll buy it ourselves. It takes a lot of our paycheck. That Last of Us Part 1, thank God I had a gift card because. But without further ado, so guys, let's first go into the 10 out of 10. And Jess, we're doing this in chronological order, right?
Yes, working our way backwards. So, as you said, the very first 10 out of 10 on KeenGamer was in 2016.
The
It was
Magic
by
Circle.
It was the Magic Circle. It was by I'm sorry, a lot of these authors don't work here anymore, so I'm not 100% sure on pronunciation, but it's either Jamie Catalyst or Jamie Catalyst.
I didn't even realize we have to pronounce the authors' names. I'm like, the next one is like Europe, Eurosales, IV.
Mark suddenly out. He's like, I got something I gotta do, actually.
American football is gonna be on soon, so
Yes.
But-
So this first one, 2016, the Magic Circle. I'll just do a very quick summary of it. This is how we used to do our reviews. Right now, if you're familiar with our reviews, we have a summary at the bottom of the pros and cons, and the score. It used to be a conclusion, with the pros and cons looking a little different. So they basically say the summary of the game. They link to a Steam comment, and the devs sorting out an issue with the save like immediately. And then this is from Jamie. This is something you don't see often enough, in my opinion. Passion in this oversaturated video game / indie game era is extremely lacking. Most AAA titles just want your money, and a lot of indie game devs lose motivation for their game. But the people who created the Magic Circle not only made an amazing game, they listen closely to the players and fix their mistakes. Because they care and they've kept their passion and motivation for their game. I fell head and over heels for this game quickly, then it utterly stole my heart. I wish I could personally shake the hands of all the parties involved and thank them for making this game. I could play it over and over again, and I'm planning on getting copies for my friends. And if this group decides to make another game, they have my complete support. So if you're so inclined, check out the Magic Circle. I promise you won't regret it. I've never given anything a 10 out of 10 faster. And there is actually no pros and cons on this, but it is basically a sort of Pokemon type game, but with like a black and white art style of you solving puzzles and collecting monsters. And I encourage you to read the whole review on KeenGamer to see exactly what it's like. But yeah, that's the Magic Circle.
I mean, the game definitely sounds fascinating, and just like the passion from her conclusion, I'm like, oh god damn, I gotta get it right now.
Yeah, exactly. It's again, these are all like you probably haven't heard of a lot of these 10 out of 10s, but you haven't not heard of it because they're bad. You've not heard of them because they're very indie. And apparently this one, so in her, the caption we have in any of our reviews, they wrote, "Do you like Fourth Wall Break? Awesome interactive games, feeling like a Pokemon trainer, or uncovering amazing story and plot as you traverse through diverse parts of worlds? Then you'll love the Magic Circle." So it seems like I have a really good story and exploration and these Pokemon mechanics, which sounds very cool to me.
I read that, I'm like, Noah.
Yes. Are you interested in that, Noah?
A little. That was what you read there was very well written, and he sounds very, very favorable of this game. So, yeah, I'd be interested.
Yeah, this one is also the next one, number 16. Yes, sorry, that there's been 17 10 out of 10 so far at KeenGamer. And I think 3 or 4 alone this year. So this one is called, again, another very specific genre, because this is a strategy, like tactics type game, kind of like, I believe it's like Civ. Europa Universalis 4, and this was by Karsten Anderson. And his summary is Europa Universalis 4 is a perfect 10. Perfectly polished, minimal flaws, which come down to personal preference at the end of the day, and an engaging strategy game that requires actual strategy in order to be successful. Not just blobbing out with your legions of uber upgraded soldiers. There's a steady stream of DLC and improvements, meaning the game is always changing and growing. And on a Friday night, I don't know if this is still true, it's not uncommon to find a multiplayer lobby with upwards of 15 to 20 people jostling for territory and making deals to carve up other nations in the pre-game loading menu. Is the game for everyone? No, absolutely not. I don't think there's such a thing as a game with universal appeal. But in the 4X genre, Paradox has carved out a reputation as being able to deliver top quality strategy games, and Europa Universalis 4 is the go-to example to prove that. And their pros, wonderfully polished, challenging AI requires the player to think, constantly being updated with content expansions, great for gamers who like alternate history, great for gamers who like strategy, gameplay isn't repetitive. And just the 2 cons, bit of a learning curve at first. Music is, in their words, meh. Not really inspiring, but not at all bad. So this one, I'm not personally a fan of like Civ and all, but it sounds like if you are, that this is a really great game to pick up. Are either of you like strategy fans? No.
Honestly, like my dad is.
Oh.
A lot of dad talk.
As a genre, I don't really go for like something that uses that as its identity.
Yeah, same. But if you like those type of Civ games, it sounds like Europa Universalis, which honestly I've never heard of, but it sounds like it's a really good strategy game. And again, available on KeenGamer.com if you want to check out the full review on that.
Exactly. All right, moving on to this is definitely a lot more AAA. The
Yeah.
Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild by Jacob Yancey. Again, I'm going to butcher some names, and I apologize. How I'm going to make it up, I don't know. I thought I had something. Oh, well. But his conclusion, you guys know what's coming. I really didn't want to do this, but Breath of the Wild reaches a quality that is extremely rare in today's market. I'm sure some kind of error. I'm sure some kind find bigger complaints with it, but anything that I could complain about it would be simply nitpicks. Nintendo has brought us another classic for years to come. And 100%.
I like their cons. Do you see their pro and cons table?
Oh, yeah. So, again, very old school pros and cons. Pros, which we won't read it out for every review. You know, well-written story, fun, engaging combat, amazing detail. Cons, it didn't come out sooner.
I love that.
And honestly, yeah, Breath of the Wild is like a game that a lot of people feel comfortable giving a 10 out of 10, including myself.
Yeah, like I would struggle to not give it a 10 if I was reviewing it. Like it's just
Exactly. Like
what an
it's
experience I had playing. I don't know about you. One of the best open world games I've ever played.
it's one of the best open world games I've ever played. And it's one of the best in the industry because everyone wants to reach that level.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Like this is what we're talking about. Throwback when Google is chasing trends and they are not delivering. This is like the one time I feel like Nintendo has altered what they're doing because of feedback and gaming industry trends towards open worlds. But yet it's Nintendo. It's this team behind Zelda. So like, oh, we're gonna just do one of the best open world games ever. Like it was such high quality, even compared to the just swaths of open world games available out there, you know?
And just like the art style. And it's like how they're going to top it with Tears of the Kingdom. I don't know, but I'm all in.
Oh, I can't wait for Tears of the Kingdom.
And of
Yeah.
course, we will probably not get a code for Tears of the Kingdom.
No, again, this
It's not
person has bought this game on their own and did a review for it. Yeah.
Yes, and keep in mind, he probably bought it at launch.
Mhm.
What I mean by that, like that was a launch title for Switch.
Yep.
Mhm.
What a way to be like, forget about the Wii U. Boom.
Yeah.
But
They had the
I
games. Have you played it, Noah?
I don't have it, but yeah, I'm familiar with it.
Are you not a Zelda fan? Am I remembering that
Yeah,
right?
I never really got too into Zelda. But yeah, like it. I guess it's like it's that open world, but also like it's the simplicity of using Zelda rather than it, like more animated, like cartoon sorts of things, rather than the typical like as realistic as possible, like
Mm-hmm.
what Skyrim would go for. It's yeah, that level of simplicity I think drew a lot of younger people in as well. Where like, okay, isn't that complicated, and yeah, and that's a big part of the reason why the Switch has done so well is because of those launch games. That one was excellent, one of the best games ever. Yeah, people they're going to see it as a classic for years to come. Like it, like I forget the first name Yancey said. So yeah, so and there was also Mario Odyssey came out around that time.
Right.
That
Yep.
so yeah, and they went into this trend with yeah, with two of their major franchises kind of adopting some new mechanics while maintaining the classic elements. And yeah, and they walked the line really well. Yeah, and they hit it big. It's one of the rare examples of a company picking like, here's what needs to change, but here's what needs to remain the same accurately. Like usually they fail to walk that line, like change the wrong things and leave the wrong things the same. But yeah, but they got it right. They got it right, and they are rewarded for it.
Yeah. Great point, Noah.
Yeah.
And one thing to keep in mind, like, I don't know how other game sites do it, but it's for our review process of claiming a game, it is a first come, first serve.
Mm-hmm.
We don't get assigned these reviews. So it's not like, hey, Noah, you familiar with Zelda? And you're like, no. And it's like, all right, review this Zelda game. So
Yeah, like if you're picking a AAA game in particular to review, chances are you're either a fan of the genre or you're already a fan of the series.
or you just want to make a post, whatever. But moving on, we have Persona 5 by Jordan Middler.
I
And
just want to point this out. This is Jordan Midler, who's over at Video Games Chronicle now. Actually, I had no idea he worked for KeenGamer.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No.
Wow.
Well, look at us.
Years later, people will say this about us.
Yes, Noah. Yeah.
Oh my god, remember that crazy guy in the podcast? He was like doing spit takes and
He was a choking clicker. Yeah. I remember
But moving on to Jordan Middler. Love you, even though I've never met you or nor talked. Anyway, Persona 5. He reviewed that. That is a 10 out of 10. His conclusion: I absolutely love Persona 5. It grabbed me with both hands. It took me on a near 120-hour jaunt through Tokyo, the metaverse, but more importantly, through life as an honest student. Ooh, that's a long one. It crafts a world that I'm desperate to return to and features characters that are endearing, entertaining, and memorable. Its visual presentation is at a level of style that most games wish to achieve even 1% of. Okay, this is why we changed it to keep it a paragraph, not 3. Sure, there is some problems towards the end. And yes, if you aren't up to dedicating a significant amount of time to it, then it might not be for you. However, as someone who would never list Japanese RPGs in my list of favorite genres, I'm practically salivating at the thought of another game in this mold. It held me for 119 hours. Okay. Long story short, we started on a cliche, so let's end with one. 2007 should be worried because a decade later, 2017 is shaping up to take its crown as the best year for video games in history. And Yeah, that has Super Mario Odyssey. That had Breath of the Wild. That it was a damn good year.
Yep. I've played Persona 5. Have either of you?
I have not because it is so daunting,
Yeah, I think the
but
119
I
hours there
I
is.
want to. But he said it's 119 hours, so I feel a little more safer.
I feel like he's got 119. If we read his review, it'd probably be like, I did nearly everything in the game, side stuff. Like, if you're going for the story of Persona 5, you can cut that down. Still massive if you're just doing the story, because if you've never played a Persona game, it's going through like a calendar year. And while not every day has something significant going on, you can do something every day, like go to your job, go to these mind palaces. In this one, you're playing as like the Phantom Thieves, I think they're called. I, this is one where I'm like, I'm not sure I would give it a 10 out of 10, but damn, is it a good game. Persona 5 is also a really good game to start the Persona series, because it's kind of like Final Fantasy, like they're kind of connected, but they're not. You can go ahead and play a Persona game if you've never played one before. Um, and I'm glad it got so much. Like, I tried Persona 4 before, but I couldn't. It's kind of a little stressful when you start a Persona game, because, like I said, there's so much stuff you can do in one day. Like, you have a lot of options, and it's really stressful to try and be like, well, what am I supposed to do? Persona 5 really made it clear. Like, these palaces, you have a deadline, and that's when you can do it by, and you can do whatever you want in between. So yeah, I think it was a great review by Jordan Midler as well. Um, Obviously different format than when we're used to, so the conclusion was a little longer, but
Yeah.
great review, and I think he summed up pretty well. And like, I didn't know he wasn't a JRPG fan, so it caught him, and he's right. It's, oh man, it's a stylish game. Like, even the menus are so cool.
Like, just looking at this game, like, again, I really want to play it, but it's
Mhm.
like, when? You know what I
Exactly.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if I talked about it in a pre-show or on the podcast. October, basically until the holidays, very busy month.
Mhm.
Especially
Definitely.
for gaming. October in particular, there's so many games. And then beginning of November, God of War. Then we got a little low. Then the Callisto Protocol, Marvel Midnight Suns. That's a big games. Some indie ones. Trying to play games for the game of the year.
This is
Stuff.
this is my issue of just JRPGs in general. It's one of my favorite genres, but I barely play them anymore because they're so long.
And honestly, like I think it just recently came out onto Switch. But it's on the
Perso
Switch, and I feel like that would be
Persona
like
5,
yes.
it's coming out. I think it's like October 21st. Another October game.
Uh age verification.
Oh no. What?
Okay, it's Persona 5. Okay, Jess, I'm unfamiliar. What is Persona 5 versus Persona 5 Royale?
Royale is basically an extended edition. You get a new character, new palace,
But it's
lots
still
of new
Persona
content.
5.
Yes, yeah, you can just
Okay.
do more things in it. It is the, like, ultimate edition.
All right. Gotcha.
Mhm.
All right. Moving on. Take the next two.
Yes, no problem. I don't know, do you wanna take the one after this? I feel like you've got some opinions on it.
I'll talk about it. Like I just think it's funny. And I read the summary of that. It's a very short one.
Oh, so you're like, "Oh, no, I'll take that one." Okay, so we're on number are we on?
Just
Number
did Persona
13,
5, so yep.
and it was September 2017, and it was I feel like this is how you believe his name, Jorge Smoliev. He does a lot of tech stuff for.
Haravue. It's Croatian. I know the first name is pronounced Haravue. I'm not sure about the
Thank
last
you
name.
very much, Noah Haraway. He does a lot of tech stuff for us. He's still at KeenGamer. You can check out
And
his tech videos. And
fantastic work. So please check that out. He puts a lot of hard work into that.
Hmm.
he has indeed. And this is for a game, Divinity Original Sin 2. Uh, And his conclusion is, what can I say in conclusion other than what I've said above? But we're not reading the above. The icing on the cake would be the topics I haven't even touched upon, like the master mode, which replicates playing Dungeons and Dragons tabletop for added multiplayer fun, which in itself could fill an entire article, or the release of the developer tool and full-on mod support. All I can say in conclusion is that you should go and buy this game. You will not regret it. There are a few issues here and there which are completely overshadowed by all the great parts. If you are more real-time action-oriented, the fact that original Sin 2 is an isometric RPG with turn-based combat might repel you, but on the other hand, it could, like it did with me, make you love it every step of the way. And he put great writing, huge amount of intelligent branching quests, the customization options, the combat system, and the co-op multiplayer as his pros. And the cons were some slight technical problems. He didn't like the HUD and inventory, and it was sometimes a bit too difficult. This is another one where I feel like I played a little bit of the first one and not the second one. It's another one where you'd be like, I don't think anyone could really debate this if you're into this type of game. Divinity Age Original Sin 2 seems to be one of the best in the RPG genre, really, of this isometric type action game. Either of you played it?
I have not.
Yeah, I haven't.
I don't think it's a game for me, but
it is pretty cool though, these games that you can play them co-op. Like you're basically playing like an isometric RPG with your friend, which is really cool because you can kind of like just go off and do things on your own. And I'll just reiterate his branching quests, just playing a little bit of one. Absolutely, there's so many things you can do in this. Like even if you're interacting with one item, it can have like all these consequences later on. Like if you kill the wrong NPC, it could have huge consequences. So pretty much a masterpiece in the genre that I really want to play, but haven't got around to yet. And we will move on to number 12.
yeah.
Yeah, so let me just pull this up. And it is, you want to tell them what it is, Mark?
It is Mario Tennis Aces.
Have you played this? Because I have not.
No.
I have played this, actually.
Okay, all right. Well, I'll do the little thing and then see if it lines up.
It's a short one, so.
Oh, okay. Conclusion. Oh, you're probably not going to get too much from this, but all of the modes are done very well. The product is more than I expected to be, and I'm appreciative of that. I can't wait for more updates from Nintendo for this wonderful game. And the pros were the tournament mode, the online and local. It's a standard and simple mode. Adventure mode. Oh, they just liked all the modes. New characters for every season and improved graphics, and no cons. And this was by Lindsay Schubert for the Switch. So, Noah, what is Mario Tennis Aces? And did you like it?
It was okay. I tend not to spend a whole lot on things like it because it's just kind of one-dimensional for me. But yeah, it's essentially like it's a much more advanced version of like the Wii Sports Tennis, with a lot more going on. I enjoyed it. It's one of those Nintendo games you take out when you have friends.
Yeah, I guess this person they really liked it.
Yeah, and they have friends.
I guess this person has friends. We're drawing that conclusion. Yeah. Okay.
Only reason I find it very amusing because Nintendo probably looked at it and said, "Really? Oh, well, thank you."
Again, I'd reiterate, we usually
this is all opinion.
Yes, but we also review games that we are probably going to like anyway. So, or that we already were like, oh crap, that was an amazing game. I guess I'll do a review for it. And really
it's not like, and especially for like a $60 game, I don't think they were like, I guess I'll just review this and buy it.
Yeah.
So, moving on to Pixel Ripped 1995, which is also the nickname of my birthday.
That's your birthday.
1995.
Pixel Ripped.
Yeah. Oh, that's a badass name. By Linmark Abelina? Again, very sorry. But I loved your review. This Pixel Ripped 1995 is a VR game. And their summary, the unique thing about VR is that you aren't just playing a game, you're playing an experience of a new media of entertainment altogether. Pixel Ripped 1995 shows the true creative power of the virtual reality medium, and I can't say enough good things about it. I've reviewed over 20 games on the Oculus Quest, and this is by far the most complete and most unique game in its Quest history. The art style is nostalgic and innovative, and the gameplay mechanics are unlike any other game before. The game is short and sweet and will leave you wanting more. If you're a retro gamer that has been on the fence about buying a VR headset, trust me, this game alone is worth the purchase. All right, I'm going to buy this game. I don't know if it's still on. I think it is, but looking at like the pictures of it, I'm like, wow, this looks incredible.
Exactly, another one that's flown under the radar in other places, but because I mean that who's this again? Sorry, Lamarck has played a lot of Oculus games before this. Where they say like 20 or 40 or something?
Yeah, like 20. So
like they played a lot, and they're like, this is the one. This is the one of the best games I've played on it. Like it flew under the radar, but it's something again that I can borrow an Oculus Quest from someone. And I'm really curious to check this out because it's kind of taking from video game.
Bucks, it's still on the Oculus, which always a good thing.
Pretty good, and taking from video game history, I'm like, I'm in.
And if you look at like these images from Pixel Rip 1995 and imagine that in a VR, like imagine like a I don't want to say 2D Pokemon game, but like the Pixel Pokemon going like that, but it's from your perspective. That's one of the stills. Also, you're in an arcade, probably trying all these games. Like,
yeah, like it's putting you into these old retro games in VR. What a cool concept.
Exactly. So that's why I'm like, wow. And just the passion, and from someone who has reviewed and played a lot of Oculus games in particular.
Yep.
Can't go wrong. But I feel like this might be the biggest 10 out of 10. And we'll explain why. This is The Last of Us Part 2 by Tristan Zeldin. Did I pronounce that?
He can let us know if it's wrong. Old host of KeenGamer podcast.
The old host, I was his apprentice for editorship. No, but Tristan is probably like one of my favorite people from KeenGamer because he taught me so much, and especially as doing TV reviews. So always grateful for you, Tristan.
Big up, Tristan.
I love you, Tristan. And from what you experienced in The Last of Us Part 2, oh my God. Well, okay. So The Last of Us Part 2 elevates every element of its predecessor and more. 3 pillars what makes games are: technology, an art form, and of course, a game for people to play and enjoy. It hits all of these notes and more. Flaws exist in everything, but even the problems I had were immediately made up by other factors. It may not be for everyone, as the story is not easy to digest, and the violence goes to extreme degrees. Yeah, definitely. But for people who want to feel and think while stepping into the shoes of one of Naughty Dog's newer iconic characters, then this is a must play. And as Tristan pointed out, he does list some cons: inconsistent AI partners, some annoying bosses, inconsistent directions, couple of awkward flashback placements. Which I feel like that is the larger conversation that we'll have of like 10 out of 10 for me, and I'm assuming for you guys as well. That doesn't mean it's perfect. So as I say, like I said on this podcast, nothing is perfect.
Yeah. That's the exact same for me.
Is perfect.
Yeah.
But why is this I don't know, infamous, Jessica? Because this, you read the comments on this, pour one out to Tristan. Because I can't imagine what you went through. And that was like the scary thing of like reviewing The Last of Us Part 1, which, spoiler alert, I gave a 10 out of 10. I've only had one comment. What? What? Oh, I spoiled it?
Yeah.
Oh, Oh God, edit that part out, Jessica. But just reading the list, oh my gosh, like
One thing I'd like to say as well, not that you should ever comment on this, like, at all, like, grow up. Uh, you liking a game, someone else giving it a 10 does not mean that you have to like the game, like, it's not life or death for you. But I don't like that our 10 out of 10 system on KeenGamer says perfect, because we do need to list cons as well, and nothing is perfect, like you say. So if you just delete that perfect,
make it a
like,
masterpiece.
yeah, like masterpiece. Like I feel like a change for that is good for our site, but also this was a review scale made a long time ago, like probably when the site first started.
Exactly.
So
So we can't fault
yeah.
it too much. And I'll read one comment.
Oh, Mark.
But let me. This is why. Trust me. It's from Jay, who looks like a dick. Yeah, I'm coming after you, Jay. How I am so aggressive on this podcast. Don't mess with my boy Tristan.
Yeah.
How can this be a perfect score when it even has not one but 4 cons? And the rest is yada yada yada. But exactly, like of course things have cons and problems. And he even stressed it in the summary, like, yeah, even with the problems I had, this is still a masterpiece. Get over it.
This is a perfect example of why you should read the review. Don't just look at a score.
Exactly. And just reading some of the like other comments of like, how come you said this? I'm like, he didn't even say that. You're just making
Yeah.
assumptions about the meta narrative of everyone's review on The Last of Us Part 2. And again, we're not saying you should agree with this 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
What we're just saying is, or if you don't like, of course, Daniel is a great example. He does not agree with my 10 out of 10 for Last of Us Part 1. Spoiler alert, that was for me. But we had a we just had a nice conversation. It's not like he went this like crazy.
Yeah, it's not like he was like, "How dare you give it a 10 out of 10?" He's just not gonna buy it, and he personally wouldn't give it a 10 because
Yeah, like he
everybody
doesn't.
has differing opinions on games.
Yeah, he doesn't believe like this game should be $70. And you know, all that. And he said, but guess what? Whatever. And I know like we'll definitely have him on for The Last of Us future podcast. But
Mhm.
he definitely didn't agree with part 2. He didn't
Mhm.
like it. But
Mhm.
did he go to these lengths? Probably not. And we could probably have a silver like discussion of like why we didn't like it.
Yeah, like one of my favorite things I've ever done on this podcast was talk to Dan about The Last of Us Part 2 because it's one of my, I think it was one of my favorite sequels, or yeah, I believe it was.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite sequels of all. It's one of my favorite games of all time. I love part 1 and I love part 2. He did not, and we had a really great discussion on why I liked it and why he didn't like it, and it was fine. Nobody died. Nobody got paid off by Naughty Dog. It was great. They actually talked to somebody who he's had these opinions and wasn't a weirdo on the internet.
And also, a comment. Well, it's more of a reply to someone who was like, "How is this a 10 out of 10 with cons?" So, Dakota Gordon commented, who spoiler will also be on this list. I'm going to guess that the positives heavily outweigh the flaws. A matter of complexity and gauges, you know, not exactly
Mhm.
black and white. And yeah,
That's exactly it. Like, this is why I feel like sometimes review scores are just they're infuriating because
yeah,
people focus on them so much. It's not like this is a perfect game. It was just like, here is a score that represents my experience with the game, like at a glance, you know? It doesn't mean it's perfect. It doesn't mean everything was incredible.
yeah. And just one last note for comment or reply from Tristan, who said, like, no way, this is 10 out of 10. Yada, yada. He said, which is great point. Nobody should take any review this seriously. I see
Yeah.
that you don't agree that you gave it a 10, despite giving serious reasons why I like the game. But at the end of the day, it is just a video game. Go play something you enjoy and have a good day. Smiley face.
Yeah, exactly. at the end of it, a review is there for you. It's supposed to be there to gauge whether you. One of the things is whether this is a good game and whether you should buy this game. Did it do that for you? Absolutely. Tristan went through why he loved this game so much and probably why he thought you should play it if you were a fan of this stuff. And he even said it's like it's not for everyone, like this type of game. So yeah, read the goddamn reviews, people.
Read the review.
Go outside and touch some grass.
The comments from this. I have allergies. Yeah, that's why we want you to touch grass. Get them allergies. Get
We've barely touched on the actual game itself, but like I said, I personally, we're both big Last of Us fans, Mark. I completely agree with this. I haven't ever played a game, even compared to part 1, quite like The Last of Us Part 2.
Exactly. All right, so that was the podcast. No. Moving on. We're almost halfway there.
Yeah.
Let's go. Woo. All right. Would you like to take these next two?
I will. A slightly lighter tone than before. This is, what is it called?
Super Mario Brothers 35.
I had no idea what this existed, and it actually sounded really cool. So this is by Bryn Potty or Potty. Give it a 10. The summary: the original Super Mario Bros. Is a game that has been there for me since childhood. It's always been a nostalgic security blanket, the video game equivalent of comfort food. It's nice and familiar, but not especially challenging or exciting. Super Mario Bros. 35 took this classic and truly gave it new life. I feel excited, tense, and downright giddy about this game for the first time since I was a child. And they said it was incredibly fun. It had rewarding competition, surprisingly deep strategy, and fast-paced. But it could be a little repetitive and it could use a tutorial. And if you don't know what this is, like I didn't know, it's basically Mario Battle Royale. Is this what this is, Mark?
Huh.
They had it like when was it? This is like it dropped September 2020. Remember it was Mario's anniversary. They put the 3D All-Stars out. It was that presentation like direct. And they included like, hey, Super Mario Bros. 35. This game was only for a limited time. I'm pretty sure you can't play it now.
Oh, what a goddamn Nintendo move. What the hell?
Yeah, Nintendo. Also, the same one of like 3D All-Stars will stop selling in March 2021. Oh, by the way, no Super Mario Galaxy 2, which I'm a little pissed off at still.
Nintendo.
Bitter. I'm all riled up. I read the comments in The Last of Us Part 2. I'm all heated. But the Super Mario Bros. 35 was so much fun.
Oh, you played it? Did you play it, Noah?
Yes.
I'm not familiar with this, but I did really enjoy the Wii U Super Mario Brothers. To me, that game, like, of course, there's nostalgia, but to me, it gets better at every new one.
I wish Nintendo can bring it back if it's gone, because it was a ton of fun. And I'm pretty sure they came out with a Pac-Man version of this.
Oh, like a Pac-Man Battle Royale type thing?
Actually, no, it wasn't well, maybe it was Pac-Man, but I know it was definitely Tetris.
Oh, yes, I have heard of
if you
that
remember
one.
that.
Yes.
So that was a lot of fun. I wish at least if they ever do like a Super Mario Maker 3, that could be an add-on.
Yeah.
So I feel like that would make sense for that.
I definitely play this again. I wanted to play this.
And I definitely sucked at it, but yeah, it was a ton of fun. And Nintendo's like, you having fun? Bye.
Nah, Nintendo, what's wrong with you? Although you do make Breath of the Wild. I forgive you.
And it's like, you do all these things. It's like, Tears of the Kingdom? It's like, oh, come on, bring it in.
Right. I'm going to try and maybe speed up some of the ones that we're not too familiar with here, because we are at 150 when we still haven't
Fair
talked
enough.
about our review process. So this one's, I believe it's pronounced Hater. It's our number 8. It was by Rudra Meta, and it's an indie game, and their summary is: Hater is a brilliant title that beats most puzzler genre games fair and square. I would definitely love the addition of new levels if possible, maybe as post-launch additions or even DLC. Overall, it's a masterpiece and an intelligent game which guarantees a really great time for an hour and a few minutes of the storyline it offers. If it had a strong impact on me, which I normally don't feel with short and or one-dimensional games. Maybe it's the concept, maybe the execution, or maybe it's a bit of both. Regardless, it offers something no other game can offer, and I highly recommend everyone to play and finish this game. You will not be disappointed. Now, please excuse me while I go recharge my brain cells. Their only con was that it had a few collision glitches sometimes. This is another it looks like a beautiful indie game, and the concept is you're playing as a rag, and you vanish things when you go over it. So you have to try and solve puzzles as a rag, vanishing items, which totally sounds like an indie game. And if you've seen the pictures, it actually looks beautiful for being such a simple game. But yeah, that's Hater. Do you want to move on to Blind Drive, Mark?
Sure. So Blind Drive, also by the same guy who reviewed Hater. I know. His summary of Blind Drive, which looks visually very cool. Blind Drive is a masterpiece. I haven't come across many games which can take your breath away in the first few minutes as this one did. I had a single session of almost 2 hours playing this bad boy before I even realized how much time has passed. Blind is very addicting, and it's almost impossible to find any flaws with it. And side note, he put in the cons. Not enough grandma. Need more grandma, which I would love more context on that. But
I feel like, yeah.
Yeah. I played it on easy mode, and I'm definitely going all the way to blindfold mode to claim moral victory over the game. I highly recommend you go show some love to Blind Drive and the devs behind this beauty. And again, going back to the point of like we do review a lot of indie games, and I know like some people like if you're expecting like to go into the business like, yeah, I'm gonna review all this AAA stuff, it's like you got to start out with a lot of indie stuff. But guess what? Indie games are awesome. And it's crazy if like a small team puts out like such an amazing product. Like Cult of the Lamb. Amazing game.
And in particular with this Blind Drive, this is why I think it's really awesome that not awesome that we can't review, but some sites need to review indie games because otherwise they're not going to get reviewed and they're not going to get put on people's radars. And I'd never heard of this, and it looks incredible. You can play this game with your eyes closed because the whole concept is you're driving blindfolded, Blind Drive, and you need to just navigate left and right for obstacles. And I am definitely playing this game after reading this review and seeing it. And this is why I love that sites like us can review these smaller indie games.
Exactly. Speaking of a game that is not that small, Disco Elysium. Did I pronounce that?
Elysium, I think.
Elysium by Andy J. Dobson.
Yeah.
Dobson.
Sorry, Andy.
Andy, my buddy. So he put a hit. So this the final cut. I'm just assuming this is like I'm not a remastered, but just like the Persona 5 Royale. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like I know this added voice acting and everything. Yeah, it's the definitive edition, basically.
So his short summary: enhanced with fantastic and fresh content, Disco Elysium, the final cut, is a game that dances through the vulgar and the sublime, in an experience that excels in delivering superb storytelling with compelling gameplay mechanics. It's a hallmark of the genre that deserves every ounce of credit attributed to it. And he put in the bad, can sometimes feel like an interactive novel. Not for everyone. Not that for everyone. And Disco Elysium, I really want to play because everyone talks about it, and I'm like, one of these days.
Yeah, it seems like the ultimate, like John was talking about Divinity Original Sin 2, you having so many consequences to your actions. Like Disco Elysium gives you so much choice. I only played like the first hour maybe, and it was so weird and fantastic and such an RPG. I really want to go back to it, but it is massive. So I don't know when.
Don't know where.
Don't know when, don't know where. And another one where I'm like, yeah, haven't played it. Like 10 out of 10 seems like a totally appropriate score for something of this scope. Buy it by an indie game dev.
Awesome.
Moving on to the next one. by Jeff Girardin.
Yes. I'm pretty sure he was an editor.
He was, yes.
Yes. Very nice guy.
Good to hear. I actually didn't have much contact with him, but he did a lot of reviews and a lot of articles that you can check out on his offer profile. He reviewed The Ramp, which is our fifth game in this one. It's like an indie skateboard game. So his summary is The Ramp achieves exactly what it promises, a simple experience that scratches your skateboarding itch. The ease of use and minimal effort required to drop in and execute some skate tricks is a testament to effective game design. If your core mechanic is perfect, you don't need fluff. Hyper Paradise has created a masterpiece that improves your day in 15-minute increments, allowing players to turn off their brains and shred. And he didn't have any cons, and he was just like, it had excellent variety in levels and sound designs, and it's simple but effective gameplay. And this, I quite like this. It feels like a beautiful toy rather than a game to commit to. So again, if you're into skateboarding games and the mechanics around that, this sounds like a really cool indie game to pick up. Say if you're waiting on Skate, Dan Boyd.
Yeah. Wink.
Yeah. Wink. Either of you two skateboarding fans?
I am not. But I will say the Tony Hawk, the first game, kicking soundtrack.
Oh yeah, I did used to play quite a lot of Tony Hawk as well. But there was that an indie game that came out of one of the summer game things. Had a really cool art style. I feel like
Bird.
No, it was like kind of a dark art style.
Oh, Roller Dome.
No, another one.
Who knew this was a genre? It's like space horror.
Yeah, whole new genre lifting off this year. But
Woo.
Yeah, they make for really great indie games. I've noticed, even like Ollie World and all that. The mechanics behind are like roller skating and skateboarding. Something very cool translation to video games. And the next one we are doing is a recent one. When was this? 2021.
Woo.
And you probably have heard of this, even though it's a smaller indie game. It's Death's Door, and it was by Cyprian Jaburdik. You can check this out on KeenGamer.
Sophie, my buddy.
Yeah. Let's say the summary for Death's Door, which I have yet to play yet, but I know it's on Game Pass and it is on my list. They say it's an unforgettable lesson on coping with the immutable march of death that'll shake even the rugged individuals out there, packing few but extraordinarily fleshed out characters, levels, story beats, and gameplay elements. Death's Door shows restraint and temperance, standing as an indisputable triumph of the top-down dungeon crawler formula. It's bursting at the seams with good writing, humor, and an eagerness to use every last bit of its 10 to 13 hours of playtime in good faith. That's the crowning achievement of Death's Door. Nothing feels left out or bloated. Acid Nerve managed to deliver a perfectly balanced cup of existential dread and philosophical remedy on all accounts. Man, I want to play this game so bad.
You got me existential dread.
Yeah, this is also a great review.
That's quite a description there.
Yeah,
philosophical remedy.
Yeah, it's a great review from an apparently great game, and it's on Game Pass, Noah. So,
yeah. I may give it a try.
You son of a bitch! I'm in.
Yeah.
All right. I'll take the last three, Jess. Last three. Woo. So for number 3, we have Stray by Laura May Rendell.
Why did you say that like we're in a Royal Rumble?
Well, I don't know. Meow, 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 meow. Oh my God, that's Laura's music. Meow, meow, meow.
Busting through behind you. Like the Kool-Aid man.
I don't even know wrestling. I just know, like, all of a sudden you just hear their music and be like, oh my God, that's Jess Gore's music. We're in the 2-hour mark. This is the delirious part. I know we're having fun. So Stray, Stray is a true ode to both adventure games and cats. The game is expertly crafted with satisfying gameplay, a brilliant art style, and an even better story. A strong contender for Indie Game of the Year, Stray will dig its claws into you from the very beginning and won't let go. That doesn't sound fun. But Jess, you and I have played Stray. It is amazing.
Great game. Love it. I definitely think you should play it and read the full review. Laura did a great review on Stray.
Yes, and currently, as this podcast, Stray is still on PlayStation Plus extra tier. Yeah, extra tier.
Yeah, and it got a physical release, and it was actually pretty high up in the UK charts. So Stray
Really?
just keeps on going. Yeah, strong beat to strong
Damn.
beat. Yeah.
So the next review we have Last of Us Part 1 from Meek Kianahan.
In the red corner, we have Marco Callahan.
What is my music? I don't know why. I think it's like
Whatever the
the Full
Taco Bell
House.
theme.
The Full House themes. Everywhere you look, everywhere. Oh my God, it's Mark. I don't know my. Maybe that's the podcast for next week. We try to figure out our wrestling themes.
Okay, I'm in.
I don't know. Let's come up with something good. I said it's me. While the price point might detract some gamers, The Last of Us Part 1 needs to be checked out. If you've already played the original game a bunch of times, there's still a lot of value present. Players that haven't experienced one of the best games of all time should buy the definitive way to play this masterpiece. I think this guy is a hack, but it's just me.
Boo. How could you give it a 10 out of 10? There's cons.
I didn't put cons. Haha.
Oh, damn it. You caught the commenter. They're obviously going to apologize.
Oh yeah. So this unnecessary remake gets a review, but Nintendo, its most important release and biggest RPG of the year, Xenoblade 3, doesn't? How curious, KeenGamer.
Gets curious.
By the way,
curious.
I was so petty. I got a screenshot of that quote, that comment before he edited it. Perfect. Even though any veteran game reviewer can say, who gives a shit about the comments? And I'm like, take that.
It's tough not to look at it when it's your review, isn't it?
Actually, I don't care. Like, it's honestly, I think it's funny because it's like, damn, why do you got to bring Nintendo into this?
Yeah, it's a weird angle. And what is it about The Last of Us that brings out the creeps online? Like
that's basically
the abusive assholes. Like,
oh yeah, that's like it's like bait.
Yeah, but it's this game exploring the relationship between people and violence, and yet you're being
Boo!
being an asshole in the comments.
And then the last one is from.
Well, Mark, I was just going to say, actually, I totally agree with your review score. And one thing I wanted to bring up here, which we'll probably bring up later on, personally, I don't think, unless it is an extortionate amount, that you should really put into consideration the price on a review, unless it's like a console or something like that, because it won't always be that price. Like, you're not reviewing the price, you're reviewing the game. I'd absolutely mention it and talk about it, but I don't think personally it should go into a score.
Exactly, because it's like, then every review would be like, why isn't this game free? I want it cheaper.
Yeah.
Which I think is come on, like basically my review was trying to justify why. I'm not gonna say why I got remade. I almost said remade. I guess that's technically correct. I didn't want to say remaster. Anyway, it was more of like they put so much work into this that it justifies that $70.
Yeah, it justifies being called a remake.
And again, Xenoblade Chronicles is $60. Biggest RPG of the year.
Yeah, it's not as if we don't do a ton of Xenoblade Chronicles 3 content.
Oh God, that I edit. which are all great, and you should
Yeah.
look on KeenGamer.com. I don't know why I got aggressive with that plugin, but we're doing this.
I'll bring it down slightly aggressively. I think it's Jack Carson. He does really good Xenoblade Chronicles 3 guides for the
He
site.
does. Very good. Very great, actually, guide writer.
Agreed.
And the final one, Beacon Pines from Francis Addison. I'm sorry I butchered it. You're very nice. But she put for Beacon Pines, the easiest way of summarizing how well Beacon Pines works is by saying that it is abundantly clear in every frame that the developers cared. The story is sad. Ooh, I'm in. The story is sad and funny and intriguing, and the art style is unforgettable. The gameplay, while simple, introduces such a unique concept to facilitate its story that it doesn't matter that the entire thing can be played with a grand total of 5 buttons. This game is dripping with heart, and if you had any interested in mystery stories, I cannot recommend it more lightly.
Ooh.
I love it.
This
I
is
want to play
actually
it.
a game that I was thinking of maybe getting / reviewing for the site. I think it was on our games we could get. So this is maybe very excited to play it.
It does. And side note, I don't know why. Let me just say, if I reviewed Bug Snacks for KeenGamer, that would have been a 10 out of 10. This would have been an 18 list.
Yeah, I know I have so
But-
many in my mind, Mark, where I'm just like, if only I had the time to review that.
But I think so. Let's jump into the review process.
Yeah.
So we are paid by the developers to give them perfect score. No, stop it. I know, like, there is actually like some instances in the industry, but they are very rare.
Who's paying
know what I mean?
KeenGamer? Who's paying KeenGamer to give a 10? No one.
Who? Listen, maybe one day we will get paid for our reviews, but today is not the day. No.
I
I
should
think the
clarify,
whole-
Mark's joking.
I'm joking. I was about to say that, Jessica, but it's like, no. Could you imagine how much shit companies would be in, just from the developer publishing side, from the reviewer side, if they actually did that? You don't think a big scandal would come out? Like, come on.
Yeah.
Again, reviewers do not get paid by the publisher to give good scores.
And again, we buy these games on our own, basically. These AAA
Oh yeah,
games.
like these big ones, like the Last of Us games, Mario Tennis Aces, Breath of the Wild. We paid full price for that.
Yeah.
And it's more of like, even when we get review copies, that is just a review. That is not like, hey, by getting this copy, you have to give it a good score. No. Publishers know, even the indie ones, by giving the score, they'll review it. Honestly.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? It all depends on like who the reviewer is. And I don't mean of like what games they played. So do you guys know who Roger Ebert and Gene Siskel are?
I've heard of the first guy. The movie
So
guy?
they are both Americans. They are two very famous movie reviewers. Siskel died in the late 90s, Ebert 2013. But they had this whole show, this whole other podcast. So, but they had two very like different review styles. Like Siskel was very nitpicky, while Ebert cared about the overall experience. And I can nitpick some things, but it's more of like, overall, how do I feel? And again, like with IGN, when they give a 10, everyone's like, IGN gave it a 10. It's like, yes, the site did, but it's more the reviewer.
Yeah. I hate it when people put sites as in, how could IGN do this? Or why did IGN give this a 10 when they only give this a 9? It's different people. There's not one person writing all these reviews.
And guess what? If you gave it to a different reviewer, they probably will give it a different score. If they gave it the same score, maybe for different reasons.
Yeah, this is something I'm curious. I'll go into you, Noah, first. Like, how do you review a game? Like, what is your personal, like, what gets a 10 from you? What gets a 9 from you? Like, do you use, like, a KeenGamer? We can basically use we can do a point scale system. Personally, I like doing a 0.5 system. And I know some people who just like doing point systems. What is it that makes a game or a movie or TV, because we do that as well, for you, Noah, stand out for you and get a high score?
Yeah, so for me, I kind of go by like your overall experience and try to come up with like a range, like between this number and this number. Because we do out of 10, I like using that flexibility. Then I'm like, okay, am I more toward the 7, more toward the 6? And I like it's really different each time. Like I'll try to narrow down, like if it's something that there's multiple seasons of, like are there sequels, and like is it better or worse than the previous one? Kind of figuring, I kind of get my range from that. And I don't think I've ever gone I don't think I've gone low for a review. Like everything I've reviewed has always been at least fair. And I kind of go by those words you get with them too. Like, is it fair? Is it good, great, or excellent? So, yeah, once I've kind of got that idea, like, let's say, like, I want to give something a really high score. I think I gave an episode of Attack on Titan a 9.9. When I'm trying to make that call, like, is it a 10? I do kind of go by, like, is there literally nothing that this writer or these animators could have done differently to make this better? Like, is this so perfect that nothing could have made it better? And I've never made that call. I've never given something a 10.
Yeah, you see, I think that's so interesting because I'm
Yeah.
kind of the opposite, where it is, I guess what you're talking about, Mark, just the overall experience. What like number or star or whatever badge would you give this for the overall experience? Because yeah, it's just interesting to see those two different review styles within our own KeenGamer review style. And I think people need to keep it in mind a little bit more, that it's an individual, not a site.
Exactly. If I was working off of like 5 stars, I would do it differently. But because I have the flexibility of even being able to go to decimal points, I use it. And I do take into account like how big are these flaws, like how much credit do they deserve for this pro. So yeah, I kind of try to weigh things like that. Like as I recall, for one of my Camp Cretaceous reviews, there was a pretty big flaw that I think that I said there just were not enough scenes with dinosaurs, and that's a pretty big flaw for a series without that's about dinosaurs. So I did deduct a lot for that.
What about you, Mark? What's your sort of style of reviewing?
I sit on the couch. I turn on the TV. And I just let the magic happen.
And bam, the reviews wrote.
I'm like, oh, I know everything. No, writing review is... It is tough. I don't want to say like challenging or something, but it's like, man, I like... Even with like Hocus Pocus 2, Hocus Pocus 2 should not have this much thought in my brain. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Spoiler, I gave it a 7 out of 10. But it's like, oh, but I'm thinking about this, but I'm thinking about that. I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking about that. And because sometimes when the overall like experience is just like, it's okay, but what side of okay do I fall on? Like these past 2 reviews I did, Last was Part 1 is complicated, and then Hocus Pocus 2, not because of the movie, it's just like when it goes to the okay, it's like, oh, which is it? Hey, it's okay, or it's okay.
Yeah.
Oh well.
I agree, because I feel like we were talking about this a little bit beforehand as well. I totally like even just hearing that score and watching the film, I'm like, that adds up. But also, it was such a great experience to watch that after 29 years. It's been like a tradition in my family watching that, and just like that was an awesome experience. A 7 out of 10 totally makes sense for that film. You know, it's not groundbreaking, it's not doing anything incredible. It's an okay film, but personally, I really enjoyed it.
But yet again,
Um,
if you gave it a 10 out of 10 and you added like what you liked about it and like how it made you feel, that is your opinion, aka justified.
yeah, I get, yeah, but although personally, I wouldn't give it a 10,
Yeah,
although
I mean,
it's
if
something
you,
I could see myself rewatching again and again. You know,
I mean, if you give a Hocus Pocus 2 like a 1 out of 10 and say I hate ladies and drag queens, then I'll be like, I don't respect your opinion because you're a
yeah,
horrible person.
yeah.
But do you want to just go through very quickly some of these 9.5s and because I feel like some of these I'm like, you should have just gave that a 10.
Oh, I feel about so many of them. This is why I think it's interesting that we've all got so many different review styles, because Noah telling me to give something a 9.9, I'm like, well, I just want to give it a 10. Like, you know, like in my review style. Yeah, I'm gonna point out to you, Dakota Gordon, who did an incredible review of Doki Doki Literature Club. Like, it was a really meta review. I encourage you all to watch it. Give it, or sorry, read it. You can't watch his review. Give it a 9.9. And it was a really good review, really glowing review. And I'm like, what didn't give it that 0.1?
9.9.
9.9. Yeah. Dakota, just give it a 10.
Just 9.9. Our tech guy, we can't even pronounce it. Croatian.
Noah, help us.
Help me, Noah.
Haraguay.
Yeah. Super Mario Odyssey, 9.7. Give it that 0.3 up. That's a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, yeah.
Portal 2. Come on, give that a 10 out of 10. I think
9.7, yeah.
Red Dead Redemption. Oh, actually, this is 9.5s. So I'll just give you some. I'm like, come on, just give it a 10 out of 10. Only a couple, but Red Dead Redemption, first one, that's a 10 out of 10. Horizon Zero Dawn, actually, I feel fine with that one. God of War, the PlayStation 4, that's a 10 out of 10.
There's a lot of 9.5s here that got 10s in other places, but obviously this person thought it was a 9.5, which is kind of like Elden Ring recently got a 9.5 from Ian Shady.
Got
Yeah.
9.5, and it's like, come on, that's a 10 out of 10.
Personally, for me, like, I do like a 0.5 scale. Like, I use it quite a lot because, you know, when you're like, it's okay, but what side of okay it is, I tend to kind of go for a 0.5 with that. If it's above a 9, in my head, I'm like, well, it's just a 10 then. It's just a masterpiece of the game, which is why I actually personally haven't given a 10 yet, because I've never reviewed anything that is a 10 out of 10 for me, even though I've played things that obviously is.
What was your score again? I think it was a 9. The Immortality review.
Yes, and that's a game where I'd say I give it a 9 out of 10, but it's one of my favorite this year. But it's not that it's not perfect. It's just that it has a few flaws that could have been better, if you get what I mean. So
yeah, there's like when there's flaws that can't be overlooked, that's when it's like, all right, that's the deduction.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Although again, with me, I wouldn't really say it's a deduction. It's like that overall feeling when I'm thinking about playing Immortality in my head, translating that to a number is a 9. That's the way I feel. But then it's my way of working it out. It absolutely is, because there are things that could have improved. So yeah, it's still, oh my god, 9s. We have so many 9s on the site. There are incredible games out there. That's why, you know, highlighting the 10 out of 10s is I feel like it's a little bit special, because you're like, oh, of the incredible games, these are the real good ones.
Man, I just love games, and I can't wait to play them all on Amazon Luna. Still got the page job, but at all.
Well, I expect you playing Resident Evil 2 for Halloween, no.
Never mind.
Anything that sticks out here for you in these 9.5s and above?
Yeah, I'll shout out Callum Davis. He reviewed a game called Eastward a while back, and he covered it pretty well. Really just one con, which I'd say maybe he could have deducted more for it because it crashes a lot. That's kind of a big con, but he gave it a 9.5. So, that's just his system. So that's a good one. And I want to shout out Bryce McWilliams, who reviewed the Dune movie that came out a few months back. He really covered it in a lot of detail. A lot of pros. It was a good incarnation of Dune. That's there's been many Dune versions, but this one was pretty good. And let's see, flaws. No Time to Rest. Okay, some pacing issues. Yeah, that they're both really just pacing issues there. He gave it a 9.5. I thought that was a really very detailed review that deserves some attention.
Yeah. I should also again. Noah as well has a lot of TV and movie reviews, and Mark too. This is just a video game podcast, but lots of reviews on KeenGamer. You should definitely check them out, and I will put a link to either the games we're talking about below, or I'm just going to link this document out because it's non-editing, so everyone can see everything from a 9.5 up that KeenGamer's ever gave.
It's a lot.
It is. Like, we've got, like, what do we have here? I talked about Dojo Literature Club, Pillars of Eternity 2, another incredible RPG, and Metal Gear Solid Rising, Metro Exodus, Final Fantasy 15 Windows Edition, Monster Hunter World, Dead Space. Like, that for me, Dead Space personally is a 10 out of 10. Like, for me, like, just an incredible game. Personally,
Dead Space or Dead Space 2?
Dead Space says here. Jesse Teixeira, I think. We probably have Dead Space 2 as well. Like,
Dead Space 2 was 9.8.
Yes. 9.8. See?
Yeah.
But the same person?
Eh.
Oh, wow. They prefer Dead Space 2 over Dead Space. That's interesting.
Hot takes. Also, this is the question I want to ask you, Jessica. That is off topic, but including the doc. Alan Wake Remastered.
Yes.
Is it a horror game?
Yes, but it's a very tame horror game. It's very you're reading a Stephen King novel because it's very inspired by Stephen King.
All right. It is on sale on PlayStation, and I'm like, I want some October games.
Oh God, you should play it. And the remastered, like I said in my review, is like the definitive way to play it. With two coming
What
up.
is the indefinitive way to play it? I would prefer that.
You would prefer.
Yes.
Just go on. If Steam isn't even, you go on your Xbox
I know
or your PlayStation. No. You wanted to know.
Oh. You're like, we're 2.5 hours. No. You had to make a stupid bit. Nope. Well, we're gonna stretch this along, Marcus.
You can go to
www.steam.com/Alan Wake.
Yeah.
I think. I don't know. But guys,
I want one more question to you guys before we go, because we went on, like you said, a very long time. How would you personally prefer to rate a game? Do you like the 10 scale point, or do you like unscored reviews like Kotaku, Polygon, and Eurogamer do? Or would you even like a star rating for a review? What would your own personal one be if you got to choose? Noah.
Honestly, I like the way we have it. I like the flexibility. And it's a good range, between 1 and 10. Yeah, so that I'd stick with what we have. That's what I like.
Cool. Mark?
I mean, the only thing which you touched on it, Jess, like, just get rid of the perfect and turn it into a masterpiece.
Yeah, it's the names underneath some of them, personally, for our site, I think.
That's the only thing. And other than that, you can make it 5 stars, you can make it 10 stars. As long as you have that at the end, then that's what I prefer. Yeah.
Personally, I do like a 10-point system as well. But I think like star ratings are just so much different than you can have a 5 out of 5 game, 5 out of 5 star game that isn't a 10 out of 10 game, if you get what I mean. So that's why I think it's weird when Metacritic converts that to a 10.
It's a little weird, and I always assume 5 out of 5 stars or 4 out of 4 is it's a movie thing in my mind.
Yeah, not a lot of game places do it.
No. But anything else before we wrap up?
Probably that we forgot. Oh, just thank you to everyone who's ever done a review for KeenGamer. Like, it is a lot. And if you personally don't read a lot of them on us, like, we don't do an awful lot of AAA, although we're doing more. There's so many good indie games out there that we cover that I like that we shine a little bit of a light on compared to the other sites, but it's just they don't have the people and the time to cover every indie game that comes out.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the best things about KeenGamer and other smaller sites is the attention to indie games. Because there's some things I'm like, man, and that's actually what I like about more lately with indie games of how much attention it's getting with like Devolver Digital, like their presentations, or even just like the inclusion with them with like the big Xbox, PlayStation presentations. You might complain that we're not getting Spider-Man 2, but gosh, I want that Doki Doki Con 9.9 stuff. Whatever. That came to my mind. I don't know. But
yeah, totally agree. Love it. So thank you to everyone who's done any of these reviews and is reviewing on KeenGamer now.
And thank you to any person who comments respectfully.
Yes, thank you so much.
You were what we like to call one of the rare ones. By the way, it's not a review, but whoever did the ranking the 3D Zelda games from worst to best, God bless you. That was the first article I read when I joined the site, and this author put Ocarina of Time last. So he had some back. So people were a little upset with his opinion.
What?
But I respect it. It was a well-written article. But what can I say?
Oh, we could have a whole other podcast about opinion. Like, it's literally called an opinion piece, and you're still complaining.
Again, as long as your opinion is not offensive towards anyone.
Yeah.
And don't say, like, it's offensive because Ocarina of Time is my religion. Like, no, it's not.
And also, I know this is off topic and everything. Like, every 3D Zelda game, even 2D games, are amazing. Some of the best games you'll ever.
So he even stressed.
Yeah.
We just had to do from worst to best because of them clickety clicks.
Read the articles, people, please.
Look
at the list, the score.
Speaking of the articles of Congress.
Mark, you had it there.
I know. I dropped the ball. I'm like, articles of where? Oh my god. Congress. Nope. Oh well, but that is our long 10 out of 10 podcast, which I give it an 8.5. Too much inside jokes. Not enough Noah.
I give it a
not
9.
enough grandma.
9. I give it a Dakota Gordon 9.9. Dakota Gordon / Noah Rosenthal.
Damn, that's brutal. But hey, even though we mentioned it a bunch of times, check us out on KeenGamer.com. There is so much good content coming out there. We have a lot of new writers on board. Give them clicks. They're writing some good stuff. As we mentioned, we got some guides, including the Xenoblade Chronicles 3, even though there's a little conspiracy out there. I won't say it. Side note, can this guy give Venmo me $60 so I can buy it? I'll review it then. I'll give an honest opinion, but I'll just please. But check us out on KeenGamer.com. Lots of good stuff. Also, check us out on Spotify / Apple Podcasts. Rate us 5 stars. It bumps us up in the charts so more lovely people like yourself can listen. This has been the KeenGamer Podcast. I am your host, Marco Callahan. And oh my God, everywhere you look, everywhere there's a heart, there's a heart.
Oh my God, it's Marco Callahan. It's Marco Callahan.